So this is chapter 2 in options in a divorce. And this is entitled Be Prepared. Step 1 in successfully handling the disposition of the family home in a divorce is to have a clear understanding of your financial standing. Knowing your precise financial situation throughout the emotional turmoil of a divorce will keep you from making snap decisions that could severely impact your financial position. It is crucial to know who bears legal financial responsibility for making the mortgage payments. If both spouses are listed on the mortgage agreement, they are equally obligated to the lender, whether or not their name is listed on the property title. Removing a party from a property title does not relieve the financial obligation of that party. 2 signatures on the mortgage means 2 responsible parties. This also includes the homeowner's insurance policy. It is important to know who is the beneficiary and if both parties are insured. For the previously stated reasons, it is critical that you collect and immediately provide your lawyer with all information regarding your home insurance, property taxes and liens, mortgage and marital debts, and marital assets. The more prepared you are to face your financial future, the more secure you will be moving forward. Knowing where every dollar Knowing where every dollar has to go will help you make better decisions and avoid adding undue additional stress to the already uncertain future that accompanies divorce. Knowing where you stand financially greatly influences your decision to keep, sell, or buy out the family home. There are many considerations for each option, and they all require a significant amount of due diligence, financial planning, and difficult decisions. Affordability and objective forethought are the keys to your decision-making process. Poor decisions can affect you and your former spouse long after the divorce is finalized. Keeping the house. When divorcing couples have school-aged children, they often decide to allow one spouse to remain in the home to avoid disrupting the children's routine, school attendance, and social relationships. This can be accomplished with written agreements between the spouses. Equitably allocating home expenses and mortgage payments by percentages or mutually agreeing on a delegation of financial responsibility will allow your family to focus on what matters most, the children. A clear-cut signed agreement drawn up by a mediator will help avoid contention surrounding responsibility for the maintenance, expenses, and future sale of the family home, whether it is to be to the spouse who remains in residence or an outside buyer. This is why it is important to know your financial position and how much each spouse can contribute. If one spouse fails to make their share of payments, it can negatively affect both parties' credit ratings and complicate the later sale of the home. If each spouse has provided appropriate evidence that they have sufficient resources to maintain this type of arrangement and are willing to participate in the agreement, this may be the right path. Some couples choose to reside in the home as roommates for different reasons. It might be that neither spouse is able to afford both their share of the home and a new residence, or it could be to decrease the abruptness and difficulty of the children's transition. If later one leaves, that person will have increased financial obligations in finding a new place to live. So give serious thought before choosing this option. Be aware, though, that some spouses are tied to the home not only by their children but by their own emotional investment. The house represents stability and a happier time and provides shelter from the trauma of divorce. In keeping it, they may feel more in control of their situation. Some may think that keeping a home makes them the winner, despite the financial hardship it can bring. It is difficult enough to deal with divorce without later learning that unforeseen or unbudgeted expenses have crept in and taken a big bite of an already tight budget. Be realistic about what is affordable. Selling the house. For most couples going through a divorce, selling the house is the best solution. Selling a home under any circumstances takes a great deal of time and effort, so the addition of the emotional stress of divorce can make the task overwhelming. Legalities. The termination of a marriage requires the division of real property. Marital property belongs to both parties, regardless of whose name is on the title, and each party is entitled to their equitable share. Some couples have a legal agreement beforehand, which provides a simple solution to property division. Some couples are able to use mediation to divide assets, but others are unsuccessful in negotiating equitable terms and must turn to the courts to rule on the division of their real property. Again, this book is in no way a substitute for professional legal advice. Always consult your attorney regarding the division of real property. Many couples enter into a mortgage based upon the expectation of a two-salary income that generates enough money to cover the monthly mortgage payment, upkeep, utilities, and unexpected repairs. It may be that neither spouse is in a financial position to singularly carry the full financial burden, and neither may be in a position to buy out the other. Preventing default on the mortgage is the most common reason divorcing couples choose to sell the family home. Monies budgeted for the upkeep of the home, property taxes, home insurance, home security, and house payments may or may not still be available when couples split. Couples who sell their homes before divorce, did you get that? Excuse me. Couples who sell their homes before divorce have the advantage of the capital gains tax exclusion of $500,000. A divorced person selling a home receives 50% of the tax break. There are other tax benefits available when substantial equity growth has occurred over years of owning a home. These are best discussed with your lawyer or tax professional to ensure you make financially sound decisions about when to sell your home. The emotional side of selling your home. If the marital home has been the hub of happiness and family life, it may turn out to be a constant reminder of what once was and is no more. To good memories the home represents, are now tainted by the unhappiness and pain of divorce. No matter how sentimental, strong sentimental value may be, often the best option is to sell the house and move on. That way, both spouses get some money to make a clean break and start fresh. Once you've decided to sell, there's a long to-do list, a list that is difficult under the best of circumstances and only made more difficult with the added emotion of divorce. Liability. The liability of keeping a home may be the best reason to sell. There are various ways to keep a house with one spouse remaining and the other departing, but they all carry risks and challenges. An equity buyout occurs when one spouse keeps the asset and in exchange compensates the other for his or her share of the equity. The buyout. If one spouse is in a financial position to remain in the home, it may be easier to buy out the other's share of the property, which would entail refinancing the home. The real challenges come in working out the details. There could be disagreement about the selling price or the appraisal value, or the equitable division of the property may not meet expectations. Other questions that arise include the possibility of giving up marital property rights in exchange for other assets, like investments. The ex-spouse may lose out on future appreciation of the house. It is crucial to know that questions like these will arise when it comes to the division of property in a buyout situation, and that you have to be prepared to address them. Refinancing the home in one spouse's name means not only settling the previous loan, but paying the selling spouse their portion of the buyout. As an example, if the principal balance owed is $100,000 and there's another $100,000 in equity, one half of the equity, $50,000, would be due the selling spouse, and $100,000 would be required to pay off the principal. The refinance loan would have to be at least $150,000. If the house value has appreciated, who's entitled to the equity? What if the property is appraised lower than the current loan? All scenarios must be considered before deciding on a buyout. Again, knowing your financial standing before filing for a divorce is paramount. Co-ownership. If you or your spouse want to keep the house and buy out the other, but need time before this can be accomplished, co-ownership is a possibility. However, maintaining a clear channel of communication with the ex-spouse is a major part of co-ownership, and one of the most difficult to achieve because it requires a lot of mutual trust, something that is typically lacking in most divorce scenarios. The goal is to move forward, so any concessions made between the spouses benefit not only both parties, but especially the kids. Maintaining a civil, business-like relationship in front of your children will help them maintain stability and keep them from moving away from their home when they're already adjusting to a lot of change. If one of the spouses can occupy the home with the children and make the mortgage payments until they can manage a buyout and become the sole owner, it's a win-win. The drawback to this type of arrangement is the negative consequences if the spouse in residence defaults on mortgage payments. Both parties are still responsible, and missed payments will affect both spouses' credit scores. Moving forward with a new life can be tricky in a co-ownership agreement because consistent communication is necessary, and that isn't always or even usually easy for divorced couples. House payments, insurance premiums, utilities, and necessary repairs are guaranteed financial obligations. What if the utilities are shut off due to non-payment? What if the home heating and air conditioning system terminally fails? What if you move 2 hours away and your ex-wife needs you to help with a fallen tree because she can't afford to pay someone to dispose of it? What if the resident spouse has to move out because they cannot afford to stay? What if the resident ex-spouse files bankruptcy and risks losing the house? These are all very real possibilities. Co-ownership must be considered carefully, and a knowledgeable attorney dedicated to protecting your family's well-being will be your best source for guidance on the complexities that may arise. An agreement can be created to address all the obligations mentioned previously and protect both parties at the same time. No matter the option you choose, the mortgage must still be paid. Selling is the only alternative if neither of the spouses can afford the home on a single income. A short sale is possible if the home is going into foreclosure. You can come to agreement with your lender to sell the home for less than is owed. Divorcing couples with good credit may find more favor with their mortgagee to obtain permission for a short sale. Walking away from your home and mortgage is not tolerated by the courts. The lender will add to the complications of your divorce by taking legal action to receive the remaining balance. You can find yourself in court if you or your spouse is uncooperative or is demonstrating an obstructionist attitude, which will cost more time and more money. Many divorcing couples end up using up what equity they had in their marital property on legal and court fees. Refusing to sign papers to sell the home or refusing to help pay for the mortgage will give a judge no other option than to order the home sold on the court's terms. When a divorce action is filed, an automatic temporary restraining order can be issued to prevent spouses from selling or borrowing against marital property. Discuss this option with your lawyer to make sure your stake in the marital property is protected. Less than 1/3 of divorces end up in court due to disagreements over property division. But if you're in that unfortunate 1/3, going to trial doubles the cost of the divorce. An average divorce costs $11,000 if settled out of court. That amount will at least double if you have to go to court for resolution, which will take a serious bite out of your home's equity. Many divorcing couples who want to limit legal fees as much as possible, as well as the time it takes to settle, choose to sell their home. Surveys show that couples who resolved their property issues without court intervention completed the divorce in under a year. Those who could not agree and went to trial had to wait an average of 15 to 16 months. Some states require divorces to be resolved within a year, but dockets are full in most states, which causes long wait times for a divorce trial. While you're waiting for the trial date, the mortgage still has to be paid, as well as utilities, insurance, and property taxes. The rest of this book will expand upon the benefits of marital agreements that help sell the home, the importance of having realistic expectations regarding the value of your home, and how choosing a realtor who has experience working with divorcing couples may be your greatest asset in the sale of your home. Briefly, my apologies for any coughing or mispronouncing. This reading of the book is basically to help you understand. It won't have perfect diction, but hopefully it has real good aid in helping you understand. So, end of chapter 2.